I'm doing something I've never done before in this video. After years of early mornings, late nights, and countless revisions, I can't believe it, but I'm finally ready to give you a glimpse into something I've worked harder on than anything else in my life, which is this book. I've spent years sort of crafting, pouring everything into it, and I've decided to give you, even though my publisher doesn't want me to do this, my YouTube audience, an exclusive first look at the very first chapter. However, I got in trouble. So this won't be something that's available forever. In fact, I'm only leaving this video up for a very limited time. So if you're here right now, you're one of the lucky few to experience it before anyone else. I wanted to share this with you because you've been such a huge part of this journey, and I can't wait to hear what you think. This book is truly what I believe people need to hear right now if you want to achieve financial freedom in your life. Oh, and make sure to subscribe because we have a lot of cool stuff coming up for you in 2025 and about this book. So without further ado, let's read a chapter of Main Street Millionaire. You aren't truly in the game unless you find yourself in the dead of the night, head in your hands, sitting in the dark with no idea what to do next. My father. So I dedicate this book to those who chose to get into the game of building. Entrepreneurs created this world we live in, yet you guys are few. So thank you for being what most will not. Without you, this book would be nothing more. And a special thank you to the best entrepreneur I know, Sanchez. That's my dad, guys. One more thing. Behind every successful entrepreneur is a bad former boss. So I also dedicate this to the boss you hated. You know which one. Thanks, bud. Your doubt was our fuel. Wayne Huizenga was a billionaire many times over. He was the owner of garbage behemoth Waste Management, AutoNation, and Blockbuster Video. He later sold Blockbuster for like $8.4 billion. He also owned 3 major league sports teams, the Miami Dolphins, the Florida Marlins, and the Florida Panthers. If you Google Wayne's name, you'll find the words founder and empire builder again and again. What's much less known about Wayne is that before he made his billions, he was a poor failure who dropped out of college. Wayne was the son of an immigrant father who beat him and his mother. His childhood was violent, chaotic, and shrouded in secrecy. After his parents got divorced, Wayne watched his friends go off to college and take white-collar jobs while he drifted off one low-wage job to another. In fact, after a 6-month stint in the army, the newly married Wayne had to become a garbage man. One of his old friends recalled seeing Wayne on the job and thinking, I better hit the books. It must be rough out there if Wayne's already driving a garbage truck. So how did this floundering young man with no connections, no family, and no wealth become a billionaire? Did he grab himself by his bootstraps, camp out in the garage, and dream up a new company to rule them all? No. He took a job selling trash hauling services door to door. He drove, he sold, and he studied his boss, Wilbur Porter, who ran Porter's Rubbish Company, one of Broward County's first major garbage firms. He figured if he studied a great founder, someday he could become one. Then one day something clicked. Why start a company when he could buy one that already works? For months, he pressed Porter to let him purchase a share of the business in an asset sale. Porter relented in 1962. He sold Wayne a snub-nosed truck and $500 worth of customers. By 1969, Wayne's single truck had become a fleet that dwarfed Porter's. He brought on partners and bought routes and companies from Key West to Tampa, not using his own money, but seller financing and other people's. Wayne's climb continued from there. In 1972, he drove across the United States and bought out nearly 90 haulers in 9 months. And those early years taught him like 3 things. First, you don't need a college degree to make more money than you can imagine. Second, there is incredible profit to be made buying a small, boring business. And third, the power of creative financing. Wayne Huizenga, the kid who originally didn't have 2 pennies to rub together, who couldn't get a loan even if he begged for it, became a billionaire because of this one essential ingredient. To him, it allowed him to own Waste Management, even though he wasn't the founder. To the victors go the history books. Now, why don't we hear more incredible stories like Wayne Huizenga's? Because we've been lied to for generations about who gets rich. So today, we take off the blindfold. This is a book about seeing opportunities for financial freedom all around you, in the overlooked and the unassuming businesses that we all take for granted. As someone who specializes in making good, profitable deals, I can promise you that success doesn't require flashy startups or cutting-edge new products. In fact, you'll see why finding a Main Street business with steady cash flow, acquiring it, and using the profits to live life on your terms is the smart, extremely underrated way to build extraordinary wealth. I will take your hand and show you how. But first, let's define the lie before we can reveal the truth. The 9-to-5 trap, escaping the system that keeps you poor. Have you ever felt like you'll never make enough money? Like you've been dealt a lifelong sentence of financial stress, worry, anxiety, that no matter how much you work, you'll never be able to relax and feel financially free? If so, you're not alone. Billions of workers are hustling all over the world, trying to keep up with inflation, barely scraping by, and losing hope in the promise of retirement. But here's the thing. It's not actually their fault. All of us were programmed to be poor. And here's how we're taught to make money in America. First, sit still and listen to authority figures for 8 hours a day until we're 18 years old. Then go to college and take on $30,000 plus in unforgivable debt in exchange for a degree. Without that piece of paper, we're told we'll never succeed. We're not allowed to gain real world skills through unpaid internships, the ones where you actually do useful work instead of just theorizing, unless they're officially tied to an educational program, because otherwise they're considered illegal. Then it's graduation day. We're finally allowed to join the working world. Soon after, we discover that most jobs do not, in fact, require a college degree. Nevertheless, we all compete for jobs that barely cover our bills, much less our debts. Our top performers pursue the two least creative jobs out there, consulting and Wall Street, or they play the lottery by joining a startup, one that requires sleeping on floors and racking up debt from venture capitalists. The concept of golden handcuffs becomes very real. Most of us suspect that the game is rigged. We can't afford houses, we hate our jobs, and our loans keep stacking. Yet we can't stop playing. We have bills to pay, with very real consequences if we don't. So we stick to what we know, keep my job, ask for a raise once a year, and look for another job that pays a bit more. When we stop wanting to play, the old guard gets mad at us for not working hard enough and quietly quitting. No wonder so many don't trust the system. As the proverb goes, play stupid games, win stupid prizes. Now, fortunately, people are starting to wake up. They've decided to play a better game, one where they actually have a shot at freedom. Millions are leaving their jobs, risky, and becoming freelancers. Literally half of all workers in Gen Z are. Why? Because we want autonomy, upside, and work that aligns with our values. There's just one problem. Freelancing is just like being an employee, and then it's nearly impossible to build real wealth unless you're able to get upside. A mistake smart people make is trying to get rich as a freelancer. I have bad news. This probably won't work. Why is this? Because of the simple rule that wealthy people follow, one that separates them from everyone else who struggles with money. I had to work more than a decade in big finance to learn it. You will learn it in a few hours with this book, and it will turn on what is called your reticular activating system, a bundle of nerves in our brainstem that filters out unnecessary information so the important stuff gets through. Once you see the truth of ownership, you can't unsee it. So here's your first and most important lesson. Your salary will never set you free. Your financial freedom can only come through ownership, more specifically through equity done the right way. This is not what most of us were taught. Every day in school, all the way up to your first job, you've been trained like Pavlov's dog to follow the path of non-ownership. You've been zapped and given treats to believe that a good job is the real key to financial freedom. Lies. No matter how hard you work, you will forever be a Cocker Spaniel begging for biscuits. And that's because you're trading your time for money, which means it's nearly impossible for you to break free. Warren Buffett said it best, if you don't find a way to make money while you sleep, you will work until you die. It's time to shed those lies and run towards the truth. The good news is there's a way out. And no, you don't need to come up with a genius idea. You don't need to buy crypto or own apartment complexes in Miami. Instead, just like Wayne Huizenga, you'll make a few strategic moves that will allow you to efficiently become an owner. And once you experience the freedom of ownership, you'll never go back. Here's the best part. It might not even cost you a dime to start. The central argument of this book is that buying profitable, established, cash-flowing businesses is the most underrated path to wealth, especially if you hate your job. One that, if you do it right and are willing to put in the work, not only pays you enough money to quit your job, but also allows you to pay someone else to run it with you. That's right. You own the business, you make a full-time salary, but you're potentially not stuck with another forever full-time job. And unlike buying a house, you won't always need a big down payment to own this business. The previous owner may even hand you the keys to their legacy for less than you can imagine. But you have to understand the game. They'll want these three things in return. You'll give them the ability to exit their business and retire. You'll keep their business and legacy alive, and you'll give them a cut of future profits. Sound too good to be true? It's not. This is a proven path that allows normal people to become wealthy. Everyone? No. Only those willing to do the work and dedicate themselves to the rarest of things, being a builder in a world of consumers. It's what I've done more than 100 times, which is how a small corner of the internet came to know me as the chick who buys laundromats. Not my favorite title, but I think I've been called worse. I've also helped thousands of people just like you do it. Like Renan, a medical device salesperson who turned millionaire owner of a small business he bought entirely with creative financing. Or Codie, an employee turned owner of a multi-six-figure dog grooming business, soon to acquire her second. Or Chris, the new owner of a plumbing business, a locksmith business, and now building out an 8-figure holding company. All these people chose the path of Main Street millionaire. Their companies aren't fly-by-the-night, meaningless commodities. They're essential businesses that have contributed real value to their communities for decades. They have hundreds of paying customers and a profit margin that earns their owners a very healthy income and ability to live life on their terms. It is scary, but maybe that's how you know it's worth it. So I'm here to find you, the aspiring owner in a world of owned. Are you one of us? We are a group that rejects the status quo and all broken systems attached to it. Together, we take back Main Street. While the rest of the world laughs at dry cleaning, we make millions. Jim Bowen, CEO of First Trust. One of my first CEOs, by the way. You might be wondering, what is a Main Street business? It is a small local business, typically run by mom and pop, that involves minimal intellectual property and provides a needed product or service. I'm talking about car washes, laundromats, vending machines, storage centers, repair shops, pack and ship centers, porta potty rentals, bookkeeping, grouting, plumbing. These are the modest yet profitable businesses that most people overlook. I call them Main Street or boring businesses because they lack the societal sexiness of Wall Street, tech startups, and social media hustles. Their owners are rarely on the covers of magazines or interviewed on Good Morning America. Instead, they get rich quietly. They build what I call stealth wealth by owning the types of businesses that make up the backbone of America. These businesses are dependable, meaningful, successful, and cash flowing. And yet, they rarely are considered a go-to option for entrepreneurs. I aim to change that with this book. Don't be fooled. Boring businesses do not equal boring lives. A business that has steady cash flow, lets you be with your family, is simple, has great customers, that is a real unicorn. The 100+ businesses I've owned and invested in are mostly run-of-the-mill operations that have been around for a long time, surviving and thriving through economic downturns, bringing in profits year after year. Do they have down periods? Yes, but they are not rocket ships that typically take off and explode spectacularly. Why? Well, there's an idea called the Lindy effect. It states that if something has been successful for a long time, its success will likely continue for just as long. Nassim Taleb said it best in his book, Anti-Fragile. If a book has been in print for 40 years, I can expect it to be in print for another 40 years. But if it survives another decade, it will be expected to be in print for another 50 years. This simply, as a rule, tells you why things have been around for a long time and are not aging like persons, but aging in reverse. Every year that passes without extinction doubles the additional life expectancy. I use that theory to ensure that I don't fail in business, and it's worked well. And yet, in the fast-paced world of entrepreneurship, where the siren call of starting a brand new company drowns out everything else, the Lindy effect continues to be ignored. Business failure abounds, with founders wearing their F's like badges of honor. But guess what? 35% of boomer-owned businesses have been in operation for more than a decade. Nearly 80% are profitable, with steady, loyal customers. Want to guess how much longer their success will continue? Just ask Lindy. This is the secret that Main Street millionaires know and that most entrepreneurs completely ignore. Steady cash flow is not found in flashy startups or trendy new products. It is in those established small businesses in your neighborhood, the ones you drive by without a second glance. This is where millions are being made, right here on Main Street. So what you'll get from this book. Here's a big, hefty question for you. Instead of working for decades to make $1 million, how can you acquire a cash-flowing business that's making $1 million right now? At the heart of Main Street Millionaire lies the answer to this question, a simple yet profoundly effective formula called RICH. The acronym encapsulates the step-by-step process you'll use to buy your way into becoming a Main Street business owner. R is for research. This ensures that you pursue the business opportunities that are best aligned with you. You'll clarify your unique skills, the type of owner experience you want, your risk appetite, and how much you need to get paid. You'll also learn how to find motivated sellers, the right way to talk with them about the prospect of buying their business, and how to evaluate whether it's a good acquisition or not. I for invest opens up a whole new world of possibilities with multiple strategies to buy cash flowing businesses for little money down or using creative financing. You'll learn how to informally propose a deal to the owner, work with professionals on due diligence, get the right financing, draft the papers, and seal the deal. You'll also get my battle-tested negotiation tips, which have saved me millions of dollars over the last decade. Then C for command. Shows you how to avoid the, whoops, I bought myself a job trap, or worse yet, whoops, I bought myself a nightmare. You'll learn how to find, interview, and hire an operator, and eventually a team who can help you run your business. You'll learn the most important things to do and avoid in your first 90 days. You'll establish a culture of continual improvement, track your money, and implement simple marketing systems that efficiently double your profits. H for harness is where you'll learn how to manage multiple businesses on autopilot without losing your sanity. You'll get a simple scorecard that will keep your businesses on track and add more revenue streams and prepare for your next acquisition or an exit. Rich is the most efficient path I've found to financial freedom. Why? Because it doesn't hinge on having extensive capital or brilliant ideas to start. You can acquire a cash flowing business that not only replaces your salary, but also sets you financially free. I've done it, and so have countless business owners, so you can too. And then a nice look at the graphics. Ain't that pretty? Okay, disclaimer. The realities of becoming a Main Street millionaire. A lot of business books set the wrong expectations. My dad always said, just tell the truth, it's easier to remember. So here's the truth. You'll need to buckle up for the ride ahead. I won't promise you this journey will be rainbows and kittens. In fact, I'm allergic probably to both of those things. The path I teach is hard. Becoming an owner is 10% the business you buy, 10% knowledge, 10% talent, and 70% not stopping or grit, the kind of secret ingredient to all of this. Here's what you can expect during the journey to becoming a Main Street millionaire. Number 1, you won't look cool. There's no drop shipping, no crypto, no startups, no inventing, and no picture of you on the cover of Forbes. If you want to be the next Steve Jobs or Elon Musk, I'm not your girl. If you want to run a pleasure parlor in the metaverse, be my guest. But you won't find it here. Why? Because all those paths share the same fatal flaw. Your revenue starts at 0, guys. Instead, you're going to take the road less traveled, the road with cash flow that offers you healthy profits and a monthly salary on day 1. The road where you won't spend years of your life on a gamble or slowly saving away until you're too old to enjoy the money. Does this path look cool? Not particularly. But is it cool to get rich quietly? You tell me. You won't be an overnight success. If you're getting started, I advocate for the 3-9-12 framework. You take 3 months to learn, 9 months to find and close your first deal, and 12 months to stabilize the business. That's a total of 2 years, or about as long as it takes to get an MBA. Patience is the playbook, and that's where the profits lie. I go back to when Jeff Bezos, the founder of Amazon, said to Warren Buffett, if your investing thesis is so simple, why doesn't everybody just copy you? And Buffett kind of smiled and looked back at him and said, because nobody wants to get rich slowly. Your income won't be passive. The journey is for those who want meaning and fulfillment, but not for those who want to buy a business for passive income and spend their days sipping pina coladas on a beach halfway across the world. Diabetes much? You will have to work hard to become an owner. Whether you're buying a repair shop, landscaping company, garbage hauling service, car wash, laundromat, or even a murder scene cleanup, there's one common thread. When you own it, you gotta work on it. So this includes managing employees, and it's not passive, nor is it for the faint of heart, which brings me to the most important part. This won't be easy. I've been sued, lied to, stolen from, made fun of, slandered, and even thought one of my employees was coming back for blood. If you know you're going to give up when the going gets hard, I'd suggest you put the book down now. Seriously, just save yourself some time. Not everyone is cut out to be in charge, and that is okay. There's a reason most people settle into jobs instead of stretching for ownership. It certainly feels safer to let someone else take all the responsibility and risk. And yet, salary is the ultimate addiction, a job the ultimate golden handcuffs. Having a company is hard. Having a job is hard. Startups are hard. It is all hard. So you choose your hard. I will always choose the path to freedom. Yes, there are risks on the path to becoming a Main Street millionaire, though it's not as risky as you might think, especially when done right. Bottom line, if you choose this path, you gotta commit. Things will get hard, you have been warned. But if you're like me, I hope you're getting a little tingly and feeling the truth that the rich know all too well. Behind a little pain is all the gain. Why should you listen to me? Let's start at the beginning of my entrepreneurial journey. I'll never forget the day I bought a laundromat nearly a decade ago. It was my first real step towards financial freedom, I guess. But that day it didn't feel like it. My heart raced while my mind kind of freaked out. As I turned the key and shoved my shoulder into the jammed door, I paused to breathe it all in. The sweet smell of detergent and mold. And those charming fluorescent lights clinging on to the popcorn ceiling tiles. The soft whistling of shiny washing machines. My washing machines. I guess I'd finally done it. Then the doubts flashed through my mind. Codie, what the fuck have you gotten yourself into? You're going to get fired from your job. This is a horrible idea. Everyone is going to laugh at you. You know nothing about washing machines. You barely do your own laundry. Yet for some reason, your existential crisis is becoming a laundromat owner. I sort of batted the thoughts away. For better or worse, everything was about to change. In my first year, I made a modest profit. Not earth-shattering, not enough to quit my full-time job. But it gave me hope. I never could have imagined that a decade later, that little laundromat would lead me to a not-so-little portfolio of 24 Main Street businesses that do tens of millions in revenue and a fund with a company that do hundreds of millions. As a mid-30s Latina woman who used to think a mutual fund meant group fun, it's still hard for me to believe. I wasn't born into wealth. I'm not that smart. My parents were hardworking Americans. My dad worked at and then one day finally owned a local marble company. My mom was a special needs teacher. Growing up out west in Arizona, I learned how to track a deer before I learned about money. My high school math teacher literally told me that Helen Keller had a higher likelihood of winning an archery contest than I did at being in finance. Nice guy, really. Nothing about my childhood hinted at a future in which I'd become a voice for financial empowerment. But then after college, I went to work as a journalist in Juarez, Mexico, and the harsh realities of reporting on human trafficking taught me a valuable lesson. Money is power. That realization inspired me to dive into the belly of the beast. I worked for financial firms like Vanguard, State Street, and Goldman Sachs so I could master wealth building strategies. That led me to start buying and owning businesses for myself and publicly sharing what I learned online. My former bosses were less than thrilled. I keep a quote to this day from an email one sent to me. "You continue to dumb us down. I hope you gained more followers today." Dan sucked then, and he probably still sucks. Yet, I'd rather help a huge number of ordinary people get rich together than help a small group of already rich people get obscenely wealthy. I watched Dan and all those dudes on their second and third marriages racing around in Ferraris and boasting about who bought the most expensive bottle of wine. And I thought, these guys are the ones who run our world? Time for a reboot. So today, I share their homework at our financial media company, Contrarian Thinking. At the time of this writing, we have over 6 million social followers, 1 million email subscribers, and 5,000 plus students. More now, guys. Our community has reported millions and millions in revenue bought, transitioning over 100 companies to new ownership, more there too. I happen to think we're getting started on stealing Dan's lunch. Our mission is to transform America into a nation of owners so we can save our country's Main Street businesses. And so you never have to work for an insufferable boss again. Also, don't become one. Main Street Millionaire is my call to action. With this book, I aim to guide thousands of readers towards owning profitable businesses. I hope you're one of them. Because as much as I'd love to help you get rich, there's a far bigger and more pressing issue at stake. Unless we start a movement to save Main Street businesses, we're all in serious trouble. The secret gold mine on Main Street. Did you know that Main Street millionaires own half of all job-generating businesses in the United States? That nearly 3 million companies provide jobs for 32 million people and make $6.5 trillion in annual revenue. If you enjoy a nice paycheck right now, it is highly likely you can thank a Main Street millionaire for that. But there is a dark side to being a Main Street millionaire. They're getting too old for this shit. Talking to any boomer business owner over the age of 65, if you buy them a beer or 6, they will admit that they want to exit their business, but they have no idea how. Throughout history, the answer was to hand the business over to the kids. But the times are changing. These days, only 30% of businesses transition from one family generation to the next. The kids don't want dad's plumbing business. They want to dance on TikTok, even if plumbing makes millions. So here's the craziest part. Most of these MSMs will end up permanently shutting down their business. When they retire, they won't hand off or even sell their cash printing machines. Instead, they will simply turn off the lights and put the close sign up one last time. Game over. If you don't believe me, it's already happening with businesses all over the world. Hidekazu Yokoyama spent 30 years building a profitable, thriving logistics business in Japan. Last year, he tried to give it away for free. He is not alone. In a country where the average business owner is 62 and where 60% of them don't have a transition plan, free is often the only option. Hidekazu is in his 70s, and his legacy was wanted by no one. Not his kids, not his employees, no one. Think about that for a second. It's not like he was trying to give away a dilapidated fixer-upper house in an undesirable location, although I'd take that. He was trying to give away a successful business worth millions, and no one wanted it. The struggle of an aging population could be the cause of one of the most devastating recessions in Japan, as tens of thousands of small and medium-sized companies go out of business while the population shrinks. Do you know what will happen to Japan if that transpires? In an apocalyptic 2019 presentation, Japan's trade ministry said that by 2025, around 630,000 profitable businesses could close permanently, costing the economy $165 billion and 6.5 million jobs. That's like if 1 in 10 people in Japan lost their jobs. And it's already happening. In 2021, 44,000 businesses were abandoned, and 90% of those businesses were profitable and could have been transitioned to a new owner, but they closed forever. This still blows my mind. If the magnitude of this problem isn't hitting you yet, I promise you it will. It hit me and my family. My Uncle Eb founded Eb Homes Plumbing in Phoenix, a thriving business that made him millions of dollars for several decades. At its height, it was worth several million. Then one day, Eb got older and sicker. Suddenly, the company meant much less to him than spending time with his wife and kids. So what did Eb do with the business? Did he sell it and make millions? Hand it off to a member of his family or one of his trusted employees? No, neither. He slowly closed it down. In fact, he had to pay money, and his wife had to do a lot of work to shut it down compliantly. On the one hand, it's understandable. Eb was in his 70s. He was tired. He didn't think of selling his business as an option. I think he would say it wasn't a sellable asset, or that even if he'd wanted to, he didn't have the energy to go through a sale or find buyers to buy it from him. Still, this plumbing business was generating millions in revenue. Eb spent his entire career turning it into a cash flowing asset, which allowed him and my aunt to live the American dream. It allowed them to take boat trips down to Mexico. It even bought them a little 2-prop plane and a cabin in the mountains. But it didn't matter because Eb's first business scaled down, then shut down. His customers, his team, his process, gone. Don't get me wrong, his incredible legacy continues on in his family and impact, but could it have lived on in his actual business? As tragic as this story sounds, it's a lot more common than you think. And like I said, it's playing out all over the world, and it's coming to your neighborhood soon. This is a big emergency we're all facing. Millions of boomer business owners stranded in their companies with no one to hand it off to. Their businesses are too big for their competitors to buy out, yet too small for Wall Street to acquire. So the owners just keep working and working and working. The impact of millions of small businesses quietly disappearing over the next 2 decades will be catastrophic to our economy. It's going to make the Great Depression look like a cakewalk. And therein lies your opportunity. My dear reader, you should be leaning forward in your seat by now. This is where your freedom awaits. You could be the owner. You could be their succession plan. You could preserve their legacy, serve your community, gain financial freedom, and help save America. These owners are quietly desperate to save their businesses. They are praying for a miracle. They're praying for you. This is the gold on Main Street. Now it's time for your story. The book you're holding is your guide to ownership and financial freedom. It is also a giant FU to those who want us to beg for scraps while they own everything. The content in these chapters has helped people from all walks of life achieve these outcomes. That's why I believe in you and your right to live free. Because if I can do it and they can do it, so can you. None of this is rocket science. It is a simple process that you can successfully execute so long as you remain committed to being an owner. I wish you the heartbreaking, beautiful feeling of being in charge of your own destiny. Nothing quite like it. The one who sets the hours can usually work the longest. So if you have the drive and follow the steps, the only thing that can stop you from becoming rich and free is you. Chapter 1. Hope you guys liked this. So I'm doing something really cool for you guys. We already hit 20,000 pre-orders, which is apparently a lot in selling books. Seems like a lot to me, but my publisher tells me it's a lot. So a lot of people do these like crazy book launches to get you guys to buy books. I was like, nah, the book is enough in itself. It's good enough. I want it to stand on its own 2 feet. I don't want to do some weird marketing launch. So what did I decide to do instead? I want to throw a party. So here's the idea. December 12th, anybody who pre-ordered a book gets a bunch of giveaways. You can see them all listed on msmbook.com. You can get templates and tools and due diligence calculators and print-offs and all these things you need to buy a business and become a Main Street millionaire. But on December 12th, we party. And at this, I am going to give away something to every single person that is there. Not an info product, not a video, not nonsense, but something real that will actually help you buy a business that is worth hundreds of dollars. And a bunch of Main Street millionaires to party together around this idea of what would happen if we push back on Wall Street and we take back Main Street. So I hope you guys come along for the ride. I think there's a moment in time in everybody's life where you have the wind at your back. You have a generational wealth creation event happening and you have a willingness to take action. And in this moment, only you can decide if you want to be the one that takes the jump or the generational wealth creation event passes you by. I wish I had jumped earlier, and here is my resource. So when you jump, you got a parachute.